Do you guys like me using a prop knife as my microphone holder? I feel like a news reporter. I kind of like holding it and talking like this. It's kind of fun. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tess if you are new here, and if you are not new here, thank you so much for coming back. Today's video, as you can see by the title and the thumbnail, I am doing a Chappell Roan custom doll, specifically her Tiny Disc concert look, because this is just absolutely my favorite look she's ever done. And I also feel like it is the point in time when she became much more mainstream and known. Like, this is how people found her. So I thought that would be the perfect outfit and look to do for her. But if you want to see more doll customs just like this one, as well as some bookbinding and other art related to horror movies, feel free to subscribe, like, comment, stick around, and tell me your favorite Chappell Roan song down below. I'm curious. I'm kind of liking the giver right now. Let's get into the video. I'm going to be using a Dracula base for this doll, and first things first, I need to get all of this hair off her head, so I'm just using some scissors to chop that off and get it as close to the scalp as possible. Once I get it to a point I like, I use some hot water. I get mine from my coffee machine, so if it looks like there's coffee grounds in the cup, that is why. But this helps soften the plastic of her head, which makes it easier to manipulate off of the neck peg. Typically this process is pretty hard and it doesn't come off very easily, but for some reason this Dracula's head came off very easily and I was a little perplexed. Then I just soften the plastic a little bit more so it's easier for me to mush it around. But I'm just going to use a flathead screwdriver to scrape out those plugs from the inside of the head and then use the tweezers to pluck out the hair. Just scraping along the plugs will pull them out from the inside. Then just using 100% acetone, I'm going to put that on some cotton rounds and wipe off the factory paint. And now to see if I can get the face off in one go. Kinda. I rinse the head with soap and water so she's a perfect blank canvas ready to be painted. I'm using curly hair from thedollyhair.com. I've never worked with curly hair before, so it's a little bit of a learning curve, but I'm going to be using their rooting tool as well. I'll have everything linked down below. I'm just going to take some acrylic paint and try to match the color of the hair to paint the scalp. This is just so if there's any blank spaces where the hair maybe is a little sparse, it doesn't look as noticeable. Then I seal that with Mr. Super Clear so nothing chips off. And after sketching where I'm going to sculpt the poof that she has in her hair, I just mix up some 2-part epoxy and I'll use that to build up the giant poof that she has on her head. It looks a little ridiculous, but it does end up working out in the end, so just trust the process. I'm going to leave that to dry for 24 hours. And using the leftover epoxy that I just sculpted, I made some tiny little cigarettes. And I'm just using acrylic paint to paint those. These will be going into her hair. She has a lot of mysterious things in her hair, so I have to make all of those. And not me accidentally making a tiny little ashtray. Now time for the hair. I've never worked with curly hair before, so I was confused on where the start and end of it was. Like, I think it's one giant ball of hair, so I was just cutting it willy-nilly, but I'm plugging that all around the head. And you'll see I started off plugging around the bump that I sculpted. I ended up taking it off because it was just much easier to sculpt all of the hair and then glue the bump back on. And then once I was happy with how the hair looked, I took some Fabri-Tac glue and I put it inside the neck hole and then used the back of a pencil to make sure all of the ends of the hair are coated in glue so they won't come out. While that's drying, I'm addressing the bump. I, at this point, had no idea how I was going to do it, so I just chopped up some hair and just started pressing it into the glue on the bump, and it looks so crazy right now, I'm aware. but with some extra manipulating and some trimming, it ended up kind of working. Here's me trying to see how it looks on the head and it falling off. I'm using a syringe filled with hot water just to wet the bangs because I don't want to wet the rest of the hair and accidentally straighten out the curl. Now I'm super gluing the bump to the head and going to manipulate the hair a little bit more so it looks more natural and like it's part of her head. I'm just delicately placing some strands so it looks more intentional. And now to make the accessories in her hair, she has this tiny little tiara on her head, and when doing doll customs you gotta be a little creative, so I'm using some beads to make the tiara. And while that's drying, I'm gonna plan out how I'm gonna make the other accessories. So I have the cigarettes done, but she also has these butterfly hair clips and this like pom-pom strand with the butterflies attached to it. At this point in the doll custom, I am good to pop her head back onto her body. And now time to add all the accessories to her hair. I love this little butterfly clip, it is so cute. So in addition to the cigarettes, she also has some loose butterfly clips all over her hair, so I'm just taking the strand that I used for the longer clip, cutting them off, and then using Fabri-Tac glue to glue them around her head. Her hair was looking a little wonky for a second, but I'm so pleased with how it turned out. I still have to do her bangs, but at this point we could start the face up. For my face materials, I like to use soft pastels, acrylic paint, and watercolor pencils. I'm starting off with painting her entire face with white acrylic paint. Before I did this, I did spray her with some Mr. Super Clear to give it more of a textured surface. This is going to take a couple of coats, but after a few, she looks great. I'm going to seal this again with Mr. Super Clear so it's easy to work on top of. And now I'm just using some more Fabri-Tac glue to glue her bangs to the side because she does have them a little side swept. Now using soft pastels, I'm going to apply her blush. And I do also start to use them for her eyeshadow, but I wasn't getting it quite as bright as I wanted it to be, so I do end up switching to acrylic paint for the eyeshadow. But using the watercolor pencils, I sketch out where her eyes are gonna go. So switching to acrylic, I'm able to get it much bolder and much brighter. And doing her makeup was so much fun. This look is so cool. I also use acrylic for all of the eye details. And one of my favorite parts about her eyeshadow look is that her eyeshadow is very glittery and she has little sequins all over her eyes as well. To do that, I just took some individual sequins and glued them to her eyes. I don't do that on camera, but you'll see it in the reveal. Now I'm just making her necklace. I'm using one of the butterfly charms that I bought for her hair and just gluing some sequins to it. When it comes to her outfit, she's wearing this really tiny short strapless dress with roses all over the bottom. So I found this Monster High shirt that I already had and I deconstructed it with a seam ripper and then traced the panels onto the fabric to kind of copy the pattern. Then I follow how the original Monster High shirt looked and sew it as it was sewn before I took it apart. It's slowly coming together. It's a little wonky, but you know, it's a top. And I like to bounce around a lot, so I decided then to jump to making her gloves. Gloves for dolls I have not even attempted to try, so I decided that gluing it to her hand would be much easier. And now I'm just sewing a skirt straight onto the top. And here is how it looks. Not too bad. I found these rosettes online and I figured they would be perfect for the skirt, save me some time, but I have to rip off all the leaves. And using fabric glue, I glued them on. And at this point, it really started to come together. I was really thrilled with how it was turning out. And with some final touches, it is time for the reveal. Miss Chappell Roan in her tiny desk outfit is complete. I am so happy with how this turned out. I knew before starting it this was probably going to be one of the more challenging dolls I took on. She just always has such a complex look, which makes her such a fun artist, but it was such a blast making this outfit. I really enjoyed having to really think outside of the box for all the accessories in her hair and then getting to really go bold with her makeup. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, please subscribe, leave a comment, a like, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!